Hello everyone, Positron taking a quick look at Sundered. Sundered is the new game from Thunder Lotus, made of them from Jotun, which I did on the channel previously. And it is a game that I find both clever and beautiful, as well as infuriating. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. Essentially, Sundered is a roguelike Metroidvania, and that's kind of where its cleverness comes in. I'll actually start a new game here. Now, I've played the beta, and the beta builds when I was on Kickstarter quite a bit. I backed on Kickstarter myself, and started up a new game here to make sure that everything was working correctly. We'll actually start up a new game here, and I'll probably jump back to my other save file. So I can show you where I have issues with it. But I do want to show off the intro as well. I think it sets up the tone. I think it's quite beautiful. And we'll talk about this. This is a game I'm fairly mixed about. You can get it on Steam right now. I believe it's also on GOG and Humble. It's $18 right now on Steam. I believe that might be the 10% off though, so it's probably $20 regularly. And currently 10% off on Steam for the opening day sale at least. So this is our character. This is Esh, or Eshe. Just kind of trudging through the sand here. This really sets the tone of the game. Things are desolate. You're in this unknown world. And one thing I'll definitely give the game credit for is the art and the animation is just absolutely gorgeous. Come upon this interesting thing here, and yeah. And we are thrust into the world of Sundered. Bit of a Dark Souls-esque intro. So, here we are. We are dropped in here. Trust me, you'll need it. That is actually interesting. That is actually a voice line from my other save file that apparently has gotten stuck. Well, that's always interesting to see. I'm not sure I can actually get rid of that, so I apologize for that being on the screen. But just kind of displaying it as is. So we're getting a little bit of a tutorial here. You can jump down through platforms. One thing they actually don't tell you right this moment, but it does come up in a tip later, is that you can hold down, or hold the button to just drop through as many platforms as you can in a straight line, which is actually kind of a nice little touch. It helps you traverse a little quicker. Now these... Alright, we got a dodge roll too. You have 3 charges on it by default. I believe you can increase that as time goes on. We can use a health elixir, which is that little red square you can see by the cross down at the bottom of the screen. We don't get many of them though. And in fact, that is where one of the infuriating parts comes in. Now that will change a little bit as time goes on. Okay, these brambles hurt you, and that's actually a health elixir there. Don't expect to see those very often. We're gonna get a little bit of story here. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't quite trust that. The object grants us some sort of power. Now we can attack. And again, the animation on this is just amazing. What's actually really cool too, is a really nice touch that wasn't necessary, is that there's the sheathing animation for every single swing that are really just incredibly detailed. It's one of the extremely nice touches in the game. But yeah, we can attack left and right. We can do a ground slam. We can do an air attack. In fact, if we do an air attack and hit an enemy, it resets. So we can kind of like almost infinitely combo things in the air, which is pretty cool. Feels pretty good when you get it going, actually. Cannon is extremely potent against hordes. I don't have cannon yet, though. I don't know if that's implying that we have new weapons available, or that we have... Is that an ability, perhaps? I'm not sure. One thing that does bug me is that the loading time in between is a little frustrating. It's not super long, but it's just enough to be like, all right, you know, let me get back in here. Because you're going to be dying a lot. And that's kind of part of the game. As you die, you're able to upgrade. Essentially, you go out, you gather resources, you explore, and then when you die, you are brought back to the altar and you're able to upgrade. Either from equipable items or skill points, things like that. So there's our map. Now the cool thing about the map, and I think this is actually kind of clever, is that I believe the map overall is static. I believe that is set. I'm not sure if it's set per playthrough or if it's just set overall. However, you'll notice when we go into a room that this darker colored square appears with more entrances and exits. Now those are randomized. And in fact, every time you die, the overall layout of the map does not change, but the squares therein do. And I find this both clever and maybe underutilized. I feel like when I was playing through the beta and what I've played through so far of the release version, that the areas can be a little samey as a result. I feel like you see the same squares a little more often than I would like. But I appreciate that it makes the sense of exploration a little more interesting. Now, one of the other things that I find a little frustrating about the game, and I would like to get to the first kind of checkpoint here. I see that nice statue in the background. We're actually going to go to this first marker here. There's the tip about being able to jump down through multiple platforms. So if we come over here, should be another statue. And again, the game is gorgeous. So the object talks about these elder shards. We haven't found any of those yet. However, we hit this, we will get a new power. And the first power we get is the shield. So now we have a means of defending ourselves, and it does regenerate over time. Now if you look at the map, essentially places that have hollow squares are places you're going to be able to travel. Solid squares are typically locked doors and such, and you'll actually see that there's locks in the rooms as well. Now this one will hit, it'll open this door, and you'll see on the map it'll change that lock. Now I actually want to switch to my other save file here, though I think I'll try... No, I'm actually curious if I want to try to die here. Now we'll switch to the other save file. We could just return to the sanctuary as well, so I can just kind of do that anytime. So I'm going to switch to my other save file here, because I've just gotten to basically the next checkpoint. And I'll explain a little bit what is frustrating about the game to me. Because I feel, again, I think it's beautiful, I think it's clever, I think it controls fairly well, but I do have a lot of frustrations with it, and a little bothersome. So you can see our skill tree here. Now this stats panel on the left is something that was added after the beta, which I think is really cool. I think it's a good way to see a breakdown of exactly what all your stats are like. And you also get these items as well. I got this health charm I can equip. And you have to equip charms, as far as I know, to be able to progress to the different paths. I think, at least. At least that's what it feels like. Might not be, though. I might have unlocked it because of the deflecting shield. Hard to tell. But you see here that monsters have a 4% chance to convert their shards, which are the currency, into a health elixir. But enemies drop 15% fewer shards. And as you see here, I'm getting 3 points in this shield. You need 3 points in each of these little triangles to move on to the next pit here. So I've gotten some more shield. I also got a couple of bits of armor. And you see there are major points here. Now, I don't feel like... So you get shield regeneration here, energy here. Max shield, shield downtime. I'm hoping that further along in some of these sections are more interesting abilities. I like the idea of getting upgrades to, you know, major things like more elixirs and shield regen speed. But I would like it more if these were fewer, but like new abilities, new moves, things like that. I think that would be a little more interesting. Get that stuck text again. Probably something that might be updated shortly. Yeah, the caverns change every time you die. And again, unfortunately, we have to go through this loading, which is, I feel like this wasn't present in the beta, so I'm not sure if this is just like a bug right now that's going to be patched out or what. I hope so, because it really hurts the flow. It's not a huge amount of loading, but I feel like it's, if you're going to be dying a lot, the last thing you want to do is have this loading screen to get back to the sanctuary, which you do, and then the loading screen to get back into the game. I feel like that really hurts the flow when you're intended to die, you're intended to keep trying. You know, I think like, I mean, this kind of reminds me of the Bloodborne loading screen, you know? Kind of like the fourth or fifth time you see it, you're a little frustrated. Danger is always... Okay, so you see this is where I have unlocked so far. I've gotten one of those... I enter that power chamber, which unlocks some doors. Now there's a boss chamber there. I would love to go fight the mini-boss, though I'm not entirely sure I can. But again, you also see that these rooms are empty, and as I go, they will fill out with new rooms. So I'm seeing here... I'm not entirely sure I can go to that lock there. Let's go to this one to the right and we'll see what happens. Now, the way the enemies work in this game, because you haven't really seen many yet, is that it's essentially a consistent horde mode. When enemies spawn, you'll start getting swarmed with enemies, and they'll basically keep coming until you defeat them all. Alright, we can't get up there. So I think yellow locks indicate that you need some sort of ability to progress. I'm actually trying to see where I think I can go. I need to go all the way to the left there. By that battery room, perhaps? And that'll allow me to proceed. I think. Now I'm hoping we'll get some enemies here, because one of my frustrations with the game is some of the enemy types. For one, I feel like enemies don't react well to your attacks. I feel like you're kind of just swinging at nothing. There's an impact, there's a feel of impact, but enemies don't really seem to... They're not stopped for very long by your attacks, I suppose, I guess is a good way to put it. Enemies are also designed, at least so far, in a way that... Okay, here we go. Some enemies here. Enemies also feel like they're designed in a way that they don't necessarily care what room they're in. Like, these guys can travel on the walls and they just damage you by running into you. There are other enemies that are flying, that can phase through walls. There are other enemies that merely shoot you from screens away, and that's actually probably my biggest frustration. There are these laser enemies and the flying enemies that can basically just rush you down and attack you from way off screen. It can be very difficult to react, and it feels like oftentimes you take damage without really having made a mistake. Alright, I should be dodging a little better here. And I think this is just a shortcut I opened. But this is kind of the second area here. So we'll continue going this way. Now I'm hoping that if I come over here, we'll start seeing some of those other enemies. I did turn the power on here, I think. Although I'm starting to wonder if maybe I need to turn it back on. Now these are kind of like treasure chests. Corrupted treasure. And they'll drop a ton of shards, which is really nice. Those are randomly placed each time. I feel like it didn't save my progress of... Alright, so here's some of those flying enemies. And I'll show what they do. Now, I actually can't hit some of these right now, but they'll do this charge attack. Unfortunately, they can trigger that from off-screen, which can be a little troublesome. Oftentimes you'll feel like, you know, you had no idea it was coming and it just hits you. Yeah, this is strange. I'm not sure if the power is not back on. I'll visit the power generator room again. Because I also feel like I'm missing an enemy type here. The other type of enemy that I wanted to talk about here. Now the third enemy type actually did get slightly adjusted from the beta. I think it's got it's less accurate now. It used to be basically pinpoint accurate from off screen, which is very frustrating. But it seems like it's less accurate now, which I'm not sure if that trivializes the enemy or makes it more fair. Now these guys, you can kind of stop them from charging by hitting them, but oftentimes they're kind of out of your way. Now these guys, I believe the little ones can only hit you. Alright, there goes my shield. I believe the little ones can only hit you while they're charged up. But they basically otherwise just mash their faces into you. Alright, we've got a lot of enemies here. And this is how most of the encounters go. When enemies decide to spawn, you're going to get swarmed with a lot of them all at once, for better or worse. I think that's... Oh, we did actually get a health elixir, which is extremely rare. The upside is that when combat happens, it's very intense. The downside is that sometimes it feels overwhelming, and it feels unplaced, I guess is... Yeah, that's weird. This didn't... I don't know if that resets every time you die. I feel like the answer to that is no. I did die shortly after triggering this, so I'm not sure. It would seem crazy to me if you had to unlock this every time. Alright, so here's the next type of enemy. Now there's actually... Those lasers are a mech that are currently off screen. And they fire at you. Now, in the beta they were pinpoint accurate, they're less so now, and it seems like the beam width is shorter as well. But when you get some of these, I mean, you can see they fire from very, very far off screen. And when you're on the same... Okay, I'm probably going to die here. It seems like I can potentially break this. I did. I did get another elixir earlier, so I was able to use that. The dodge roll gives you invincibility for its entire animation, which is helpful. Again, unfortunately, I've got another one of these laser robots that is somewhere off screen. And I think this is where my biggest frustration comes in, is that maybe I'm just bad. maybe that's a casual scum complaint of its sort. But I feel like those enemies are just incredibly infuriating. So you're just pestered by this thing. You don't know necessarily where it is. It could be one screen away. It could be 5 screens away in terms of traversal. And there's another one that spawned below me, I think. Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, so overall, I guess I'm mixed on Sundered. And there's another one that spawned. Now, I have seen developers say that they're talking about lowering the hordes at the very beginning of the game. I think this is a good example of perhaps why. They do have a shielded mode as well. There we go. Essentially that... Yeah, so okay, so the power is actually... I guess I didn't... I guess what happens, I didn't complete that before I died during that sequence, so it didn't save the power being on. And now that the power is on, we have new traps. We have these beams. Oops, I just walked right through that. And again, this is where some of the cleverness comes in. I like that the environments change. I like that it's very beautifully designed. The world kind of feels alive in its dead state. But I feel like the overall balance and polish maybe needed a little more time. Alright, we can hit that now, which I think opens that. I'd love to go fight this mini-boss, but I don't think I can get there yet. Oh, I've never seen this before. Whoa. Huh. This crystal room. Or maybe this is one of the shards? I don't know. Oh, we have another one here. And this sort of thing, I think, is one of the, again, the strongest points of the game is the atmosphere and everything is super cool. Like, I want to know more about this world. Curious to see if maybe I'll get another upgrade or something here. I think we might be heading to that that rightmost location. I'm actually taking a ton of damage here. Oh, geez. Okay. I'm probably gonna die here. Would be my guess. I might have to wait for that elevator to come back here. I'm not quite sure what I'm... Okay. I think I just needed to duck down there. Hordes arrive when you least expect them. Well, let me do some upgrades here, see if our shard friend has much more to say. And again, this is... man, I get it, loading has to happen, but it shouldn't be that long in between deaths. It's maybe a first world problem, but it just feels real bad when you're just waiting like that. I don't think it's enough to stop me from playing, but it's enough. It gives me enough time to think that it's a bit of an issue. Now, am I going to be able to afford to get to the shield regen? Maybe. Let's try it. I really want that melee damage, but I want to get to this. There we go. So maybe we can get this melee damage too. We did. Alright, we're out of shards. I believe every one is just more and more expensive as you go. So you can kind of choose your path. Yeah, and then you can see we would... Maybe we can go to this other upgrade here. Let me try that real quick, because we can open this now. So I might be able to get to this ability shrine. And I think I know which ability it is. But we'll see. But essentially, I'll start wrapping up here. Oh, that's not going where I thought it was. But essentially, that is Sundered. I don't know what the later areas look like. I don't know... Ooh. Elder Shard Destroyer. And I'm not also getting to kind of one of the most important facets of the game is I believe once you get these shards, you're able to choose a path. You know, do you choose light or do you choose dark? And your choice there kind of changes how your character plays, changes how you evolve. But I don't necessarily feel like I'm doing it a disservice in the fact that I'm not sure I'll ever get to that point for the other reasons. I think there's a lot of good here. I think if you have the patience to check it out, I think you might be well rewarded as you go further in. But for my own purposes, I'm not sure that I'm not sure I'm going to devote the time to get there. Now, maybe one of those things where... How do I... Oh, there we go. Maybe one of those things where I'll play and I'll revisit this and give some updated impressions. There's those damn robots again. Now, at this point, I'm kind of just running because I kind of want to just get to a new area. Just want to get out of here. Which is probably detrimental to my health. Let's see, not this way. But at this point, I think I'm just kind of talking in circles. Yeah, again, this is Sundered. It's $20 on Steam. It is positively gorgeous. I am extremely intrigued about what this world holds. I just don't know if the design decisions are going to let me find that out. So I would say, you know, if you're into something like Dead Cells, if you've played Dead Cells, but it doesn't quite give you enough world building, and of course Dead Cells is still in early access and such. You know, this might be the game that gives you that more of that world building with a very similar kind of style. I think it needs to do a little more in terms of balancing. I think it needs to do a little more in terms of grabbing you right away and character feel. But altogether, it's certainly interesting. And I think it's that interest that is going to keep people playing. I hope that the later portions and the shard mechanics and things like that are enough to keep people going. I still really want to get to this. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's a boss. I wanted to get to something like this before we ended the video here. Now I don't know, oh my goodness, I don't know if all the bosses are larger versions, or all the mini bosses are larger versions of smaller enemies. My guess is the mini bosses are, but the regular bosses are not. I feel like we can probably kill this. I do like that they're kind of more powerful versions of the enemies in the sense that as a mini boss, you've learned how to fight it up to this point, which I think is a cool... Oh, this is gonna be hell. This is gonna be rough. I would like to kill this. I don't know if I'll be able to. I'm certainly gonna try, though. I do need to crash on the floor. Here we go. Now, I don't know if you have to kill all the little ones after this big one dies. I'm going to try to just focus on killing the big one here. Hopefully he'll crash soon. There we go. Nice, and it does kill all the other ones. And we got a new perk. Oh, is this one of the shards? It is. Oh, we need 3 fragments, though, to make it whole. I'm kind of tempted to go back to Sanctuary here. It's unfortunate that that fragment isn't going to let me do what I want, though. We can get to this ability shrine, though. Again, I'm kind of stretching out this video. I suppose because I'm trying to give the game a fair shake. I'm playing reckless now, though. To repeat myself for about the 900th time. I think there's some really cool stuff here, and I kind of am pushed forward to learn more in hopes that I find that one thing that's like, oh, there's the hook. You know, like that's what's gonna keep me pressing through on this. Alright, so we get another ability here. I think this is double jump. Yeah. So that kind of opens new areas to this. Those yellow locks will now be basically accessible. They were not before. But I think we're going to go back to the sanctuary here. And we'll see what we got for that shield item. I think that was an equipable item. Goodness, though. Thunder Lotus. Much love for you folks. I greatly enjoyed Jotun, but I hope you're able to polish this up. I think it's got some really cool ideas. Extra perk. Yeah, so I guess it's not these that unlock those areas. It's actually these abilities that unlock new sections. Oh, I can only equip one right now. Increases your maximum number of health elixirs by 2, but it transforms health elixirs into shield elixirs. That's actually kind of cool. Go hit chance. Probably. Oh, I'm already out of shards here. But yeah, so that's Sundered. Again, click on the link below to check it out on Steam. Mixed impressions. I think there's a lot of good here. I think if you like something like Dead Cells, you might find something to really enjoy here. I think it needs a little more polish. Maybe in like a like week or two, it'll have some of those launch day fixes and stuff that'll tune up some of the frame drops and tune up some of the difficulty early on and things like that. But we'll see. I would love to see this become the next great thing and kind of push along the roguelike Metrovania genre. I think it's a really cool concept. I think it's handled pretty well. And I think it's just gorgeous. It's really pretty to look at. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you soon.